in a very influential area near the British Museum. The location is what is called downtown. They passed a large billboard advertising a restaurant and lounge, Continental. On seeing the billboard, Prabhupada said, Chintamani. What is that? Oh no, Continental. The devotees looked at one another. Chintamani? Prabhupada had thought that the sign had read Chintamani, meaning the spiritual gem that make up the transcendental land of Krishna Lok. But Prabhupada himself was Chintamani, pure and innocent, coming to the cold, dirty city of Boston, yet always thinking of Krishna wherever he was. How fortunate to be with him. Satsvarupa glanced at the professional is it chauffeur? I'm not sure on that. Drive carefully, he said. Prabhupada spoke softly from the back seat, while the devotees in front peered back, barely able to see him in the darkness and completely awed by his friendly yet inconceivable presence. The other day, he told George Harrison that if he thought his money belonged to him, that was Maya. At the Sumner Tunnel, the limousine pulled up at an automatic toll booth. The driver threw a coin into the chute and the red light turned green. Prabhupada asked if sometimes people drove through without paying, and Brahmananda replied that an alarm would go off. They moved ahead into the Sumner Tunnel, usually an nerve-wracking place, but not when riding with Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyat Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktar Bhavati Nishtaki. Jai. So we are reading from Canto 5, Chapter 7, Text 12. It's written on the board, but yeah, it's a different kind of, it does not have a meter, I understand. It's prose form. That's the word. So I will just read it. Teyatham avirata purusha paricharyaya bhagavati pavardhamana nuraga bhara dhruta hridaya shaithilya parahasa vijayanatmane udhi dhayamana roma ulaka kula outkanthaya pavitra pranaya Bhaspa nirudhavaloka nayana evam nija ramanaruna charanarvinda anudhayana parichita bhakti yogena paripulta parmalada gambhira hridaya haradava gadha dhishana tam api kriyamanam bhagavat saparayam nasasmara. So we will do word by word. If you guys can follow. Saya. Do we need a mic? Saya. By that. Itiham. In this manner. Avirata. Constant. Purusha. Of the Supreme Lord. Paricharayaya. By service. Bhagavati. Unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pravardhamana. Constantly increasing. Anuraga. Of attachment. Bhara. By the load. Druta. Melted. Hridaya. Heart. Saithilya. Laxity. Praharsa Vegana. By the force of transcendental ecstasy. Atmani. In his body. Udbhiyamana. Roma. Pulaka. Standing of hair on the end. Outkanthaya. Because of intense longing. Oh, you got forced because of intense longing. Pravita. Produced. Pranaya. Bhaspa. Nirudha. Avaloka. Thank you, Prabhu. Nayana. Awakening of tears of love in the eyes. Obstructing the vision. Evam. Thus. Nijaramana. Aruna. Charana. Aravrinda. On the Lord's reddish lotus feet. Anurdhayana. By meditating. Parichita. Increased. Bhakti yogena. By dint of devotional service. Paripulata. Spreading everywhere. Parama. Highest. Ahalada. Of spiritual bliss. Gambhira. Very deep. Hridaya. In the heart, which is compared to a lake. Avagada. Immersed. Dishsana. Whose intelligence. Tam. That. Api. Although. Priyamanam. Executing. Bhagavad. Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Saparyam. The worship. Na. Not. Tasmara. Remembered. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The most exalted devotee, Maharaj Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vasudev, Krishna, increased more and more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the aesthetic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. Thus, he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with water of ecstatic love. When his mind was immersed in that lake, he even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. Repeat after me. The most exalted devotee, Maharaj Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in the devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vasudeva Krishna increased more and more and melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the aesthetic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. Thus, he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of ecstatic love. When his mind was immersed in that lake, he even forgot the regulative service to the Lord. Purport. When one is actually advanced in the ecstatic love for Krishna, 8 transcendental blissful symptoms are manifest in the body. Those are the symptoms of perfection arising from the loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since Maharaj Bharat was constantly engaged in the devotional service, all the symptoms of ecstatic love were manifest in his body. Om Jnana Tirmandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chashurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone. Today we are reading about the activities of King Bharat, and it's very interesting as we sort of dive into the dynasty of Priyavata. Yeah, can you hear me? So before I begin, I would like to seek blessings of all the senior Vaishnavas, everyone, so that I'm able to share little writings that I've done here, and we can have a little bit of discussion on the matter. So firstly, we'll do just a little recap of chapter 7 that we are on right now, the activities of King Bharat. So firstly, King Bharat was the son of Rishikesh. That's very good. And who was the son of King Nabi? Just going back, and King Nabi was the son of Agnidhara, who was the son of King Priyavrata. So the whole Canto 5 has been the dynasty of King Priyavrata. So King Bharat, he was the emperor of the whole world. And he actually ruled for 10 million years. That's quite a long time. That is just him being the king, ruling as the king for 10 million years, before retiring from family life and dividing his wealth among his sons. So he ruled for 10 million years, and then he divided, and obviously then he took the further, King Bharata stayed at Pulaha. So he retired and he left family life to go to Pulaha, where Gandaki River flows. And Gandaki River, I don't know, I've seen just a video of that where they find they call it Vishnu Shilas, Shaligram Shilas, which has, you see the shapes on it of the navel shape. And they believe that, this is, I mean, it's in the scriptures, so, there's no doubt of it. So these shilas are found in this Gandaki River. And the marble pebbles up and down circles like the navel are visible on the pebbles. It says, wherever the water flows, the place becomes immediately sanctified. So very, and it says best of all rivers, Gandaki River. So, and in the previous text, it describes King Bharata lived alone and worshipped Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudev. He offered flowers, tulsi leaves, roots, bulbs, and fruits and water from Gandaki River to the Lord. It's mentioned he felt full satisfaction and was situated in devotional service. So that is where we had till yesterday. And in today's reading, we understand that King Bharat was the most exalted devotee of the Lord, and he was constantly engaged in devotional service of the Lord. The word to focus is constantly. He was constantly engaged in devotional service of the Lord, and naturally his love for Vasudev increased more and more. And then we started to read about that he started showing symptoms. So I've done a little bit of reading on it and just listening to the lectures from previous speakers, that constantly engaging in devotional service is, when you come to that point, we're at a point of Nishta. So you know how we have the 9 stages of devotional service. It's the progressive march of, we start from Shraddha. There's Shraddha, there's Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nirvritti, then we come to Nishta. So when constantly engaged in devotional service, that is the stage of Nishta. And at that point, then you move forward towards the other stages, which is Ruchi, you get taste, Asakti, your attachment towards the Lord increases, and then Bhava, and then Prema. So today we will discuss about the 9 stages of devotional service. We'll go over them. Also, the purport mentions about 8 transcendental symptoms that manifest in the body, and that is at the stage of prema. And also just to touch on 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, because it's all linked in the devotional hierarchy. So firstly, when we for the start of the devotional stages, we start with having little faith. You know how somebody has faith, they come to the temple, go to devotee sangha, or they come and meet sort of devotees, so that they want to increase their devotee association. So once a person has a little bit of faith, he comes in contact with devotees, and then his bhajan kriya starts. And we have all experienced this, as soon as we start sadhu sangha and bhajan kriya, the other process that kicks in is anartha nirvritti. That is all the unwanted things from the heart, all the things that we cherish, like lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and pride. These are some of the things that are there, and it starts to surface. I think, that's the best word to say. It starts to surface when we are in this stage, because to come to the point of nishta, to be constantly, sorry, to be constantly, oh, that's clear enough. to be constantly engaged in devotional service. That means 24/7. But the struggle that we all have is at that stage of anartha nirvritti, because everything that is conditioned that we have been carrying that baggage with us, it comes up, it comes out. So lust being the one of the major ones, I would say, lust, envy, greed. So in lust, I was just hearing this, that, and it is something that we do see when a boy and a girl, in this regard, a boy and girl, they fall in love, which they call love, but it's the illusion of lust in other terms, because if somebody tries to resonate with the person with some reasons that, oh, you should be doing this and that, and then you'll become the enemy of them. I don't know if you have come across that, if two people are in love, young boy and a girl, or man, woman, in this regard, but if devotional service at that point in time is obviously out the door, because the focus is on each other. It's on a bodily platform, unfortunately. So at that point in time, if you try to have some reasons or give some opinion, you are the enemy. So lust plays in a different role as well. Even we see the example of Ajamil. Ajamil was practicing devotional service, and he was going good, but he was young. He was young, and when he saw the prostitute, he was easily influenced by that, and easily he just fall down and got the prostitute home. The wife was left alone. I think he had kids also at that point in time. But that's lust. That's lust. So because he was also practicing devotional service, right? And that anartha nirvritti was, so the cleansing process was going on. But because these unwanted things that we have, when they come in contact, they interfere with our devotional practice. Like they really interfere. And if you take the example of greed, greed is like, could be in any means. If we have the greediness, one thing that sort of influences a lot is these online apps, like shopping. You do online shopping. The common one is like Shane, I don't know what, Timu. If you go on these ones, once you go on these ones, they have this promotions, so-called promotions. You click on once and then it shows the things, oh, this is pretty good. Though you don't need it, you're like, maybe it will be handy, I can keep it. But it just traps you in it. And you tend to, it's like a carrot dangling in front of you. It's just a matter of, it will be free shipping, 7 days, it will be home. I can try this one on, it will look nice. Maybe, what, I have another function that is coming up, I can order something now and it will be there on time. Though you don't need it as such, but because it is there, the way the material world is now created and it's going towards that, things are on our fingertips and everything is on our phone. And unfortunately, when it is there, even if we are chanting, the phone is on the other hand and japa is on the other hand. It was a good example that was given by Goranga Darshan Prabhu, that you have your phone there, you're chanting, somebody messages, you take it out and you have a look at it, and then it goes on for a while. And if it doesn't do that, why isn't it doing that? You'll open it up and you'll check it. So yeah, these things have a greater impact on our devotional service. And you have anger. Anger is also a big one, and it's how we interpret it also. And come even in devotee, you have devotee association, but still, because you're not there yet, it's cleansing is still going on, and it's so conditioned that your anger is, somebody says something to you, you know, and you want to take it in a good spirit. But it takes a while for the system, for the mind to understand that take it in a good spirit. I guess it just requires a lot of hammering to actually come to that point to accept that, you know, this is a good feedback. Even taking that takes a while, you know. Sometimes we take it in a negative way. Oh, इसने ऐसा बोल दिया. Why did he say that to me? You know, why did he say that to me? Oh, I run my own family. Why that? So, and then we keep grudges and then we hold it on to it. So, and then obviously the anger arises and, you know, you stop talking to the person. Just makes a very negative feeling. So we have that inside and it does come out. An illusion that we are this body. I mean, like, how many times in the day we keep in mind that no, we're not this body, we're spirit soul. But it's difficult, and you know, you tend to forget about it. And especially during Prashadam, we forget that we're the spirit soul. So fill it to the neck. Um, but yes, we forget that we're not this body, we're spirit soul. And it's just how it's natured and how we are in this material world that, you know, we're fighting these anarthas on a daily basis. So, you know, and this interferes with our devotional service, interferes for us to be constantly engaged. The other one, which I heard, and it was hilarious, but at the same time, it worrying, like envy. Envy is like subtle, you know. It's like if somebody even has more mercy than you have, or you know, your spiritual master is more merciful on you, even if spiritual master is talking to you, you know, that is like, oh, why isn't he talking to me, you know. And like in case of dressing the Lord, if somebody dresses the Lord more beautifully than the other person, oh, why didn't I dress, you know, oh my God, the dressing looks so beautiful, I didn't do it like that. So I heard this example and I was shocked that they there was one person, well, not obviously not here, but people have this now. You know, after hearing this, it makes sense. One Mataji at one of the temples, she walked in and she saw the dressing and she was like, "Oh no, you know, this is way beautiful than I dressed." And she was so upset that she threw her bead bag away and it just flew out the porch. And yeah, so enviness, you know, we're not happy that the other person is progressing, is doing better than you are. Instead of being happy, instead of learning, we have this negative approach. So these anarthas, they are, you know, they are like Jwalamukhi in us, you know, they are volcanic, that is erupting, and it's boiling, and at one point it just bursts. So for us, for devotees, obviously, it doesn't mean we are in Krishna consciousness and, you know, all our bad things are out the door. No, we are constantly, you know, facing these things on a daily basis. So how does one keep a check of that? How do we keep a check that, you know, whatever I'm practicing, and you know, and but these things are there. So I personally, which I'm sort of trying to also get to myself to, is that whenever I get angry or upset, if somebody says something to me, then just to step back and see the situation. Why am I feeling that way? You know, is it obviously, you know, whenever, this was also something said by Varanga Darshan Prabhu, was that every time we feel something, it's just because that is how we perceive things. This is our perception. It's not the other person even thinking that way. 90% of the time, it's we think the other person is thinking of me like that, but it's not the case. It's here, us, you know, it's how we are conditioned and we think like that. And so good way is to just step out. And if you, you know, if you feel angry, then just see, why am I feeling angry? And if you're feeling a little jealous, or why am I jealous? Maybe, you know, I did a little bit of analyze on my own self. At one point I felt that, and I was like, it's not the other person, it's you. You are having that trouble in you. That is why you are feeling upset, you know. you have to let go. So letting go is very important in our sadhana, in our practice. To let go and forgiveness. We need, all these anarthas that we carry with us, especially with the, the heavy ones, envy, pride, having pride, greediness. It's stepping back and understanding where you actually are. How are you dealing with situations? How are you dealing with people? And just understanding on that matter and taking action appropriately so that we can move on to the next stages, because we're still, I can see myself still in that anartha nirvritti, and it is still going on and, fighting back, staying strong. So to do that, constant engagement with devotees. Devotees are the gems. There is no one else that can help us. Devotees, spiritual masters. We are so blessed to have that, and slowly one day we will be out of that. So we see here for King Bharat that the symptoms that he started showing was after constantly engaging in devotional service. So that's when he started showing the symptoms of bhava. So moving on, I mean, that was it's a very interesting point which I wanted to bring up. And it is also said that, these anarthas that we carry, it's like monkeys on our back. It is there, it's like, it's just waiting to jump up. So if we look at, I mean, if you can open, I don't know if you have it, but when it says over here, the translation, the most exalted devotee Maharaj Bharata, in this way engaged constantly in devotional service of the Lord. Naturally, his love for Vasudev Krishna increased more and more. So that is the stage of Ruchi. So the next stage is Ruchi. So after Nishta is Ruchi. So it's this whole translation is the progressive march. So melted his heart. Consequently, he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. That is asakti. So, he lost the attachments of those things. The hairs of his body stood on end, and all the aesthetic bodily symptoms were manifest. So that is the stage of bhava, as it's spontaneous love that he started to show. And then tears flowed from his eyes, so much so that he could not see anything. It is said, like, we do have tears. We have tears and our eyes get swollen, but it is obviously not due to bhava. It is due to our own issues that we are facing, and we are not able to. But this is the eyes, that so much so he could not see anything. That is aesthetic love. So thus he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. So at this point in time, from which he is like, at the time his heart, which was like a lake, was filled with the water of aesthetic love. So love at a premise stage that you have constant love for Lord. Now bhava, stage of bhava is really achieved, isn't it? The stage of bhava itself is really achieved. That's what it says. You will see it in a Nectar of Devotion. It talks about the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And one of those is really achieved. So, and our Gurudev, I was listening to him, he mentions that really achieved is one of the qualities that is linked with bhava. So now if we say, what is pure devotional service? So pure devotional service, we see Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Anushiliyam Bhakti Uttama. So pure devotional service means one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. So when we come to pure devotional service, that's when the bhakti, sprouts. So, and for that, anya vilashita shunyam, you don't have to have any desires for material gains and benefit. So, favorable without the desire for material profit or gain, that is the stage of pure devotional service. So, pretty high, it's way above. So, looking into the pure devotional service, the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, the first one is it brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. So in 11th canto, Krishna says to Uddhava, devotional service unto me is like blazing fire, which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it. It says devotional service can burn up all the fuel of sinful activity. So all the sinful activities or the seeds that we have, devotional service is the only means to burn that up. So immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. So the reason we are suffering is obviously the fact that we are conditioned and we have conditioned and we're carrying so much baggage with us and it's carrying on with us. And that is what sprouts and we suffer. But if one carries out pure devotional service to the Lord, that gets finished. So, it gets wiped out, just like a blazing fire. The second one is beginning of all auspiciousness. So in pure devotional service, you will see the all auspiciousness. Now, Srila Rupa Goswami says in this context that auspiciousness means welfare activity for all people in the world. So that is a person. So auspicious means welfare activity for all the people in the world. So a Krishna conscious person is are the people who are focused, who are doing Krishna consciousness. Oh, I'm touching this. Sorry. Is to be understood to be doing the best service to the world and pleasing everyone in the world by giving Krishna. So, beginning of all auspiciousness. So, it is only a Krishna consciousness person who can give Krishna to the rest of the world. The third one is puts one in transcendental pleasure. And the fourth one is really achieved, which we talked about. So it says, it's very interesting over here. It says that Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree very easily to award the personal engagement in devotional service. Devotional service, in fact, is attained only through the mercy of pure devotee. So Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 19.151, it says, by the mercy of spiritual master who is pure devotee and by mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way. I think this is our favorite. There is no other way, and the only means is spiritual master. So whatever we do, we are at the right place. That it is our spiritual master, it is through the mercy of Krishna and spiritual master, it's both spiritual master and Krishna, then only we can achieve devotional service. There is no other way. And the fifth point is derived even the conception of liberation. So a pure devotee of the Lord doesn't even want liberation. So that it's like nothing, you don't want to have liberation. And the sixth is the only means to attract Krishna. So these are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. I'll just recap: bringing immediate relief from all kinds of material distress, beginning of all auspiciousness, puts one to transcendental pleasure, rarely achieved, derive even the conception of liberation, and is the only means to attract Krishna. So we're in the best place. Srila Prabhupada is here, our Gurudevs are here, and we are protected. And not just protected, we are given the best philosophy that takes us back home. So having faith in the devotional practice, understanding yourself, you can't push yourself to another limit of, or blame yourself for things. You can improve from where you are seek guidance from seniors if we are lost and we need help, rather than the times when people don't get the help they need, they leave, because that's the easiest option, to leave. But if the guidance are provided, if we are open to have those open conversations with people, give that, that confidential, that, that we are there for you, that if that room is given, then obviously people will stay, people will accept, and, they are going to make that progress on devotional service. And slowly we'll get rid of all the anarthas that we have in our heart and make our way back to Godhead one day. Fingers crossed. um, just lastly, I'll just, in the aesthetic symptoms that is mentioned, it's not mentioned, but it's the prema state, which is very, very high. It's like beyond me giving any examples on it even. But I'll just read out what it says. The 8 symptoms of aesthetic love is: number 1 is becoming stunned. 2 is perspiring, sweating, I guess. 3 is standing of the hairs on the body. 4th is fluttering of the voice. 5th is trembling of the body. And 6th is changing of the bodily colors. 7th is shedding of tears. And the 8th one is devastation. And we come across these in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Leela of Mahaprabhu, where these symptoms were shown. So, that's all I would just want to bring up, that, we have seen this. We have seen, while reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see the examples of aesthetic love, the aesthetic love of gopis, and, how it is sort of, you see those outlined. But going deep in this, I won't be able to do it. So I just wanted to read it out. But in a nutshell, the takeaway for us for today would be that in our progressive march of devotional practice, we need to keep a check that, for us to move out to the next step of Nishta, we have this anartha nivritti stage, which we are trying to get rid of our anarthas. And we need to identify those things, take a step back, identify, and see how you can improve, seek guidance, because that's the only way. There's no other way. You can't hide it because it will erupt. So, seek the guidance. And I think that will make us much happier, and will help us in our devotional practice that we are doing. So with that, I will stop. Does anybody have any comments or anything you want to add, or any questions or anything? Please, Prabhuji and Ratnika Mataji, who can help in answering. Thank you, sir. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay. With that good note. Oh, thank you. It is. It is. It is. Yes. Thank you so much. All right, with a good note, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai.